The Sultana was a privately owned riverboat that contracted to the government to haul supplies, haul troops. That was their main business during the war, contracting with the government. The captain of the vessel was also part owner. He was considered to be a hotshot. He liked to race riverboats. When he wasn't hauling supplies, he would race his riverboat, which I find kind of funny, a big old riverboat with side wheels racing. But nevertheless, maybe it was the thing in that day. But he would do things like the boilers would have relief valves. If you got the fire too hot, pressure builds up, relief valve opens, lets out some steam. Well, he would do things like put some weights on the relief valve, so you'd have a bigger head of steam, more power. But of course, the boilers weren't designed for that. So over the course of time, it weakened his boilers. They had to be repaired several times, patches put on. So that brings us to the April of 1865, when he was hauling a lot of soldiers mainly, from the southern regions back home to the north. He did some wheeling and dealing and convinced the authorities in Vicksburg that he could take this entire lot of ex-prisoner of wars, which the 102nd was part of. There was 2,200 people in that block of folks. Problem was the Sultana was designed to carry not more than 375 passengers, plus the crew. But he managed to convince the authorities that he could do it. So he pulls into the dock at Vicksburg, takes on the passengers, and we have pictures over in the other building of the upper deck, elbow to elbow, of these ex-prisoners of war. Of course, were they complaining? No, they wanted to get home. They said, that's the way we've been living for the last half a year, elbow to elbow in Andersonville, Cahaba prison, which was very similar to Andersonville. So they willingly got on. The ship managed to get as far as Memphis, then proceeded north, and not far from Memphis, one of the boilers, well actually two of the boilers let loose, exploded. Tremendous explosion and fire, and all these ex-prisoners of war, many of them were killed right on the spot of the explosion. Others, they dove into the river, and it was April. The river was swollen. The water was ice cold. They died of exposure. Many of you get a mass of people in a stressful situation like jumping into the river. They start climbing on top of each other. Many of them died that way, just panic. And all told, 1,700 of the ex-prisoners of war died from the explosion or from the river. And it was the worst maritime disaster in the history of the United States. It got very little press because April 65, Lincoln was assassinated, the war ended. We have other things to report on rather than this ship that blew up in the Mississippi River way out west. So it's kind of or it has been a footnote in history. So nonetheless, it was a tragedy. And Worcester was there. Wayne County was there.